Hi, welcome to this episode of the Soul Legacy TV podcast and radio show, The Soul Legacy Movement, with me, Iona, the founder of the SoulLegacyAcademy.com. And we have had techie glitches. So for those of you on the outside that have been waiting for this episode, apologies for the techie glitches, more techie glitches. The universe is saying, do you know what? The ease, grace, and flow. We're here. We're showing up for you fully. We have a jam-packed and fun episode. We're all about having the fun. So join in the fun with us, right? So I'm your host for the Cheers to Financial Freedom Frequency Tele-Chat series. Now, I made up that name because I just wanted to have an informal chat with some amazing, legendary light leaders. And so this series is for soul-guided entrepreneurs. And my guests are really illuminating the pathway and blazing the trail in their most unique way. So I am really honored to bring my guests to you. So we're excited to share not only soul path alignment gifts, but shifts. So get ready, take some notes, because I will be taking notes, right? And so you can experience more ease, grace, and flow in your light work, your lifestyle, and your world life. We're going to be breaking down the barriers. We're going to be busting through the myths, because what you've been told and you're trying to apply to your life probably is not even serving you. All right. So we're going to continue on the conversation. If you want to continue on the conversation with me, do join the after show circle. You'll see all of the details below in the show notes. Anything that we mention, we'll have the link. If you want to leave any comments or just, we'll come back if we don't get a chance to address those within this show. But we'd love you to add your energy to this conversation. So I want to give my warm introductions to two guests. So I'm spoiled. You're spoiled, not just one guest, two. So we have Raquel Reyna, who is a specialized business coach. Hi there, Raquel. And we have Deb Farina, who is a psychic business coach. So I don't know if you guys know, but I did introduce you this morning, and I had my episode, which was quite a tearful episode. So I'm going to hold those back and let you guys take the floor. So Deb, if I come to you first, and then I'll come to you, Raquel. Before we dive into the gifts and the shifts, what I'd like to do is just give you a little bit of an introduction and then let you share how your path unfolded. So Deb is a psychic business coach, as I said, who specializes in client attraction. She guides spiritually minded entrepreneurs to create a framework of ease and be visible and attract their clients and expand and increase their income, impact, and their time. So, Deb, how did your journey unfold?
Well, first, thank you so much for having me here. I am super excited to be with all this amazing energy and you lovely ladies.
Thank you.
So for me, I was an overworked, extremely tired human resource executive. And one day on the way to work, I was literally crying in my normal 1.5 hour one-way commute, saying something has to change. And on this drive one day, I got the nudge to take the leap and leave my full-time paying 6-figure job to follow a deep, divinely guided desire I had to be a coach. Now, I'm not going to say it was easy. I'm not going to say I leapt right in because I'm not a leaper. I know there's a lot of leapers out there as entrepreneurs, but I am a stepper. And on the way in, I said, okay. And I called the universe. I called the divine, my angels, my guides. I didn't leave anybody out. And I said, you want me to do this? I am all in, but I need your support. Like, can't do this alone. And I said, show me a sign. So I arrived at work. Throughout the day, things happen as normal. And then I get a phone call. Just 2 days before, I had put my mom's house on the market because she had passed away a few months before. And we had an offer. And I thought, oh, is this the sign? So the next day, I'm on the way into work. And I am really in a lot of fear. And I think anybody who takes like a big leap knows what I'm talking about. Like, as soon as you commit, to your soul, like all of a sudden the ego pops in and the mindset pops in and the fear comes in. And I was like, what if I'm making this up? Like, so I'm on the way to work and my mindset can be stubborn. So I said, guys, I know you might've showed me a sign. Can you show me another one? So I get into work. Within half an hour, 45 minutes, I forget the exact time because it's been several years now. The phone rings and it's my realtor telling me not only did the woman from yesterday want to make an offer, but she wanted it to happen quickly so I could put in my notice the next day and give the 4 weeks I wanted to, because I was an executive, so I wanted to give them some time. And she wanted to pay cash. So I get chills every time I tell the story. And I was like, all right, like how stubborn am I going to be? This is a friggin' sign. I got the exact date. I've got the cash now. I've got all this that can happen. Like now it's about me getting out there and doing it. And this was really the first step in trusting my intuition and following that heart soul desire of doing what I know I came here to do. And there's been a lot of changes. I started as a life coach. It shifted to an intuitive coach. I've been now a psychic business coach for about 3.5 years. And every piece of the journey though was all part of this now and all part of what I teach and all part of what I share and who I help. And I couldn't be more grateful for it. But when I was going through it, it was definitely feeling a little bit like the dark night of the soul. So when you asked me to come talk, I thought, oh my gosh, I'm sure so many people can relate to this. And so I'm going to say to you all, just keep going. You're a guiding light and it gets brighter the more you move through the mindset and the more you trust your intuition.
Thank you so much for sharing that. And I got full body goosebumps, which I'm sure a lot of people. The thing that I love about video, and there's techie stuff, but that connection is just like seeing you and feeling you and recognizing some of myself, because that's that mirror that we see, right? And just being bold enough to say, actually, this was me. And no, it's not easy. And yes, there are signs, but I do want to double check before I take the leap. I love that. Thank you so much. So Raquel, obviously I've introduced you a little bit, but you're a spiritualized business coach. So I love this. I love that energy, and the founder of the Biz Initiation. So Raquel works with her partner, Davidian Lion, and I butchered Davidian's name. Yes. And this morning I was like, shout out to Davidian because he's amazing. I've yet to meet him. And they advise conscious entrepreneurs on how to dive inside their genetic material and launch their unique genius online. So Raquel uses the system of human design and the law of attraction to dive deep into their clients' inner genetic blueprint so they can discover their life's purpose. Hello. And she has a ton of great YouTube videos on her YouTube channel and classes on how to teach you and understanding the human design and integrating it into your business. Now that for me is like a tall order. I cannot wait for you to share. So do share how your journey to human design has unfolded.
Wow. Thank you so much for that. And Deb, I totally relate to your story. It's funny is I was like, whoa, this is similar. I have a similar story, and I'm sure many people out there do, as far as being involved in a career or work where you're just, you know that it's not quite right. There's a discomfort there. You know that there's a bubbling up, there's a message, there's something that needs to be born. I consider myself a serial entrepreneur in that I started my first business out of college, but I, had worked my way to a corporate entrepreneurial, they opened and ran franchises, and I worked my way up in that, had bought and sold many of those franchises, and then had worked for corporate and was, doing a very high-powered 6-figure career in corporate America. And even though I was able to work from home part-time, so I really loved what I was doing, I got that knowing, that call that like it was time to move on and leave. And You know, I had a similar thing in that I was not ready to make the leap. I was sort of buying programs and studying and, you know, looking at other people. And then I did something really crazy in that the fear was so much that I had decided to buy a brick and mortar franchise to have passive income while I started my own business. And just so you know, a brick and mortar juice bar in West Hollywood, California is not passive income. Like it's like 20 hours a day away from passive income, right? And I was so burned out, and I was on the 405 freeway, like in traffic, and the 405 is like the worst freeway in the world, by the way. And I was having a crisis meltdown, like, and I'd been studying spirituality, and I had my first shaman at 20. I have a master's in spiritual psychology. Like, I've been studying tools, and yet here I am in this nightmare with my life savings invested in this thing to try and get me out of this other thing, right? And I'm in 405 traffic working, you know, 20 hours a day, and just weeping, like crying, like praying, like, you know, it's time now, like, show me, where am I, what am I missing? Because I had so many tools and so much intel. And for me, what it was, and we all get something, we all get what we need, that next piece to the puzzle. And for me, what it was this like little voice in my head, which was Davidian, who was at that time really just my new boyfriend. It told me about the fact that I was a projector in human design. And that was the kind of the piece to the puzzle that I needed in that moment, because I had done so many spiritual tools and done so many things that weren't working out for me. And learning about the fact that I was a projector really changed my way of operating at that moment. I was like, I'm not designed to work like this. This is not correct for me. And I trusted in that moment, and just, I never went back to the store. I literally let my manager run it. I was able to sell it. Now, it's kind of like you want to say everything unfolded magically at that point. That's not true. As you all know, being an entrepreneur is scary, and the next stages were intense. But that was my breakdown moment and my breakthrough, where the courage came, the courage to, like, okay, corporate's not going to work. A side gig thing isn't going to work. Like, it's time to really live out what I'm here to do. Not that I even really knew what that was, but it was just step by step. And for me, the study of human design was not that I even knew at that moment, but I took the time the next year to study. And I studied what it meant to be a projector and what human design meant. And that was how I was able to kind of operate in a new way for the business to unfold.
Wow. That is the most amazing. Yeah. Gosh. I mean, where do you start to unpack that? The main thread is, one, it's not easy. Two, you have that knowing, it's that call, like, that's the thing. It's like, I am meant for more. I have something inside of me that's burning, that's bubbling, and I don't know what it is, but I know it's not this. Do you know what I mean? And then when you get into it, it's like, well, this is not straightforward, and this is not, like, there's not. So soul path alignment, it kind of looks like, oh, well, that's the road. No, you're going off in the bushes. You're heading for do you know what I mean? But I wanted to have these kind of conversations, and thank you so much for sharing, because, you know, out there in the perfect world of social media and the false face of, I need to be perfect. I'm a recovering perfectionist. I know that you are too, Deb. We don't need to be perfect. We don't need, and I feel like that might have been some of the pressure. Like, I have got to get this figured out before I move forward, right? And I have, it's not, we're making our own way. It's not like there's a job description for this. And so when we have that call on our soul, being brave enough to step into it, and there will be fear, So for me, I had a fear of failure, a fear of success, and a fear of selling. I'm like, this is not the best place to build a business from, right? Crazy. So for those of you who really resonate with the stories and the intro, when you see the bio, right, you don't see any of that. When you're in comparison and you're like showing up and you think, oh, you know, I'm going to watch this interview, or I'm going to watch this YouTube video, or I'm going to sign up for this program, you don't hear the real life and raw behind it. Just be mindful of that. You've got your story to tell. You've got your message to also give. It's not us just sitting here saying, oh, you know, we're telling our message and you don't have a story to tell. Of course you do. And it's important that you do. And you sit in that space and you trust. Right? You trust. So Deb, we're gonna dive into the soul path alignment gifts, because obviously your path, it's more expansive. We can only share so much. And I know that bringing the gift, and I honor you for that. Can I just tell a quick story about how we came to that gift?
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'd love that.
So I was going to do this Tele-Chat series a while ago, and Deb was going to feature, and Raquel was going to feature as well. And I had to literally break down everything in order to build it back up. So when I reached back out to these beautiful ladies, they said, absolutely, I'd love to come on still. I'm like, thank you. So I reached back out and I said, in fact, both of your gifts have changed since then. That's how much things evolve, right? It wasn't that time. It was divine time for us to connect. And my stuff's changed. How crazy is that? So when you think you've got to put that one thing out there and this has to be the thing, not necessarily, right? So Deb's had a gift and I said, you know, absolutely, we felt the way, we were like, this is aligned. So when I reached out again, I was like, I can't find this on your manifesting and mindset blog series. And I sat with the site and I was like, what is it? What is it? And I sat, and she's got amazing things in there. And I was like, okay, this is the thing. It kept calling me, this is the thing. And oh my, yesterday, I was looking through this gift. I was like, Deb, you're talking about this audio series, and I'll tell you what it is. And I was like, I cannot wait for the next episode. Listen, let me get the next. I was like, listen, this is how it is. So I loved it. Oh my gosh, the links are down below to Raquel's and Deb's free gifts because they're amazing. Let me introduce, I'm going to switch over. So this is the divine intuition to manifest, right? And so it's a 3-part audio series to develop your intuition and discover the basic concepts behind manifesting, plus a whole lot of related resources. And yesterday, after listening to that, I have had this bird. I'm giving the signs and all the signs and synchronicities. And one of the things was, I wake up in the morning, like you've mentioned in your series, with divine downloads, right? Soul downloads. And one of the things about living an intentional life and the intentional living codes this series is about is following what's good for you. And so in the morning, there's routines. You've got to do your power hour. I want to work. I want to get my gifts out there. Whatever I've been downloaded in the morning, I want to get it out of me. And I kind of felt like almost guilty, like ashamed, like, well, when I get up at 4:44 in the morning, my calling and my meditation is to do my work first, and then I'll do my tapping, then I'll do my walking, then I'll do my everything else. If I don't do that, I don't have as a productive day. So please do share more about the gift that you're giving.
Oh, thank you for that. I love that intro. And it's so great how we're being guided every single time. And I developed this audio series about 3.5 years ago, actually. And I was working with a colleague and she said, you know, I need a tool, Deb, to develop my intuition to really help this magic of us working together so I can build a retreat. And I said, oh my gosh, I have the perfect thing for you. And I thought, oh my gosh, why am I not sharing this more with the world? So Divine Intuition to Manifest was born. And it's a 3-part audio series that takes you through really practically using your intuition, because I'm nothing if not practical. I'm a Virgo, y'all. So as much as I love my spirituality and my spiritual tools, and I sit in the energy all the time and I work with law of attraction, like I want to point it, I want to guide it. So I love when you were just talking about, like, you have your day, you have your routine, you have the things that you need to support you. And what's wonderful about this is it gives you some down to earth exercises so that you can really bring this intuition into your life your way and work with it for your business, for your relationships, for whatever you need it for. It wasn't initially created for business, but it turned out that it was a valuable tool for entrepreneurs because it teaches you the basics. First, it teaches you all about like intuition versus imagination, when to trust that little voice. Because you remember from my story when I said, oh my gosh, like, am I making this up? And then it teaches you about the 4 clairs. And I remember when you realized that this was the gift, you said, oh, I wanted someone to talk about the 4 clairs. And these are your psychic senses, the main ones that most people know about, which is the knowing and the hearing and the seeing and the feeling. I'm a big feeler. And then it talks about how you can too let it unfold. Like the entrepreneurial journey unfolds over time, life unfolds over time. So it really helps you deal with this and step more into manifesting what I call synchronicity with the universe and your soul. So things are easier and it doesn't feel forced and you don't have to be drained and exhausted. Mm-hmm. And it does it in easy audio series that you can take with you, one every 2 weeks. We joked about this because I was originally going to do it every week, although you do have the option to speed it up like Iona did. Mm-hmm. And you have the option to speed it up. And what's great about it is you take it at your pace and you fold it into your life and business. So it's not like another course to learn. It's something you can integrate to help you.
Yeah, thank you so much. And so, guys, do you listen to that intuition, right? So that guidance, tapping into soul guidance, I call it. And so you gave me so many insights and confirmations, and you talk about the confirmations, right? And sometimes we ignore that wherever we feel it in our body. You talk about like, how can you feel it? How can you share? How do you know that it's showing up? How do you know that it's not fear? How do you know that it's like, it's the thing to go with? And I love that you say in this series that the real way to test it is to take action on it. And I believe in taking that soul guided action. So guys, listen, this series is just, if you need the confirmation, now I listened to the first one, I downloaded the rest of the series, and here's how I got it. I said, Deb, send me the link. It's $11. I have no problem with saying, absolutely, get your $11 out, go and get your card and go and get it. This is the Cheers to Financial Freedom Frequency Tele-Chat series. We're not shy about saying invest in yourself. If somebody's got a shortcut for you, because remember our pathway, we were like, we didn't have this. I've got full body goosebumps. We didn't have this. So we're guiding the way. It's $11. And if you don't have $11 to invest, you need it even more, right? You need it even more. I'm totally serious about that because it's a guiding. I've got so many notes and I want to have a conversation. We'll do that in the after show. But so the signs that you feel in your body and the signs that you see in the physical world, like the numbers and the feathers and the different things, let us know, guys, what it is that you feel. One thing that I love and I do on a daily basis is journaling. It's like this hard, like way to actually see your journey. And I've been doing video updates, like a video journal of this journey. So as the Tele-Chat series unfolds and we talk about the contribution freedom, the health freedom, the emotional freedom, the environmental freedom, the relationship freedom, spiritual freedom, and the financial freedom. That's what the CHEER stands for. So you talk about emotions. So let's use emotions as an example, because if it wasn't supposed to be, or designed for business, not supposed to be, designed for business, I feel like the key to that is your emotions. We know that manifest. Can you talk about how your intuition, like, on an emotional level, you can recognize, actually, I'm on that right path?
Yes. So I'm a big fan of getting in connection with your heart, because for me, that feels so where my divine love, my inner voice and wisdom is. But a lot of times when you're first working with intuition, you'll hear it called the gut check. And it's almost like you feel it in your stomach. Yeah. And it's something that comes from inside, and it's a really quiet voice possibly, or a fleeting feeling, or this knowing that you don't have proof of. And part of understanding that emotion versus, say, a fear of a pattern is really accepting it, because you're going to go through other emotions, and it's part of your journey in releasing those ego patterns of, past life traumas or previous traumas from your childhood, ancestral lines, whatever it is. I mean, there's a lot that you're clearing out in this lifetime. So know that that's going to come up. And the way you can really tell the difference is it's a little quieter. It's going to require a little more courage for you to do it. And you want to do it. You're really excited, but you're scared at the same time. You're really curious, but you're nervous because of those patterns pop up. And when you recognize what your patterns are, whether they're fear shows up, or worry, or doubt, or you have a certain story, like it has to be all perfect and planned out before you put it out, right? When you recognize as an observer that that's just a story, you can listen to the inside, and you can listen to your emotion, because your emotions are energy. So they're telling you something. They're telling you, like, release this, follow this. So when you connect in with that emotion, you put your hand on your heart, you quiet all those patterns, and you take that deep breath and you become more present. And then what you're hearing is divinity. Because when you're in anxiety or fear, your energy's frantic and you're not present. So when you put that hand on your heart and you breathe and you meditate or you do yoga, you can get in touch with that deep inner voice instead of that emotional pattern. You get in touch with the intuitive emotion that's telling you to go for it and take that action.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you. You talk about like having forks in the road and that path and reframing what it is. So that kind of sounds like that if you're not sure or something, you might have not negative emotions or what have you, like reframing that. Have you experienced that, Raquel? Have you experienced that? Like you said about that knowing. How has your intuition played out in your business, Raquel?
Oh, this is a complex topic, I think, simply because this is, I think, one of the areas that I really love about this tool that we add to the toolbox, which is this art of differentiation, this study that goes through your own kind of genetic blueprint that you had mentioned when you were talking about the introduction. We call it that is because this work kind of sorts through the different ways people are designed to make decisions, and that each person is sort of designed to operate a little bit differently as far as their intuition. So it's sort of like taking all the tools, but then if you've tried to listen to your intuition and it hasn't quite worked for you, or you've tried to make motions or movements in certain directions, what the human design piece does is shows you that some people have access to their intuition while other people don't. Now, everybody is supposed to get out of the mind and out of the fear. That's a collective. That is something that I think collectively all spiritual tools and all of human design says, is that the mind and the fear are guidance in the wrong direction, basically. And that we're in a process of evolution, moving out of the control of the mind chatter, the fear, the rule of the intellect, the rule of the rational mind, right? And moving into what human design calls is this vehicle intelligence, but that it splits off. And some people are intuitive in the moment and some people are not. Some people are emotional. That takes time, a long time to sort something through. And some people are sacral, which means that they have this deep guttural knowing. And so it's sort of like separating what's going to work for you and what works for other people. Yeah. And that was just something really important for me, because my design is different than most people. And it really, because I'd been trying to follow so many different types of guidance, having just a little bit more clarity, it's like having just a little bit more knowledge of your individuality. It also talks about your aura type, so that we all have sort of an auric field or aura mechanics that are operating without us really even understanding how it's operating. So it's like the nonverbal communication. And then nonverbal communication is operating at all times.
Yeah.
And so understanding that just gives you a little bit more ability to sort through what is you and what is the best way to make a decision based on who you are.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how we operate that particular thing. Is intuition, is some people are more intuitive and other people are not.
Yeah. So you talk about the CEOs, right, Deb? So can you talk about, so you were saying about feeling in that sense of knowing. I have that sense of knowing and that feeling. And I'm like, I don't know, like I just know. Like, I don't need to go out there and say, well, this is, it's like, I just know. And it for me, it almost sounds like people are like, well, that's quite arrogant. No, I just know. I don't know how I know. I say, I don't necessarily give credit to myself for like this space and what's unfolding. I just know. Do you know what I mean? It's not me. I just know. So yeah. So the CEOs, is that similar, or is that like that operating without us is just we're tapping into something bigger?
Yeah. Yeah, I think everyone accesses their intuition and calls it differently. And and similar to what Raquel is talking about, using her blueprint, right? The CEOs, I use it in a similar way of the claircognizance. What you're talking about is that knowing. And it's one of the hardest to prove because you get these ideas in your head and you simply know, but the only way to have validation is like to have a psychic journal. And this is something I talk a lot about in the second audio that you're getting ready to go into. And the clairsentience is very much where I lead with, and that's feeling. So I'll get these emotional feelings like happiness when something comes up, and I know, when you first asked me to do this, I got like this shot of excitement and I knew it was a yes. Yeah. And so you see, I'm like working with the two. I said, oh, I got this feeling, and then I knew, right? And then I'm also very clairvoyant. I have visions of things that are going to happen in the future. And that has been really developed by meditation and sitting with it, but it develops differently for everyone. Sometimes people see something in our reality that's not necessarily 3D like other people see. So that can be one of the hardest to accept. And then there's the clairaudience, which was the last one that developed for me. I work with all four now. And the clairaudience is, I hear it as songs or phrases or even like a thought in my head, but it's a little softer and it's always very loving. And I dive more into this in the audio series in the second piece. And I give you some exercises to develop these areas based on which one you're called to. Because like Raquel talked about, like we all have different strengths and we all have different areas and different makeups. And that's one of the reasons this was created with exercises to journal and to develop so that you can work it for you. Like it's not just one way, like do step A, B, C, because as we've talked about through this whole conversation, the soul journey is not linear. It's not A plus B equals C, but we still need to know what action steps to take.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you. So Raquel, let's dive into what you bring to the Tele-Chat series and your gift. So it's the 7-day Big Vision Envision Challenge. And so I started out as the vision coach, and then I was a life purpose and big vision and mission coach. So vision is something that's really like you having that vision, but also envisioning, but also embodying and also feeling and also breaking it down. It's not just like this airy fairy thing like, oh, well, I'll just stick pictures on a vision board, which just really irks me because there's more to it than that, right? And so I know that you share and you have a challenge, and are you going to go for 7 days? Let us know more about what's going to unfold.
Yeah, so we, to me, this is like so rich and juicy, is that there's a lot of complexity to manifestation, right? And the laws of attraction and how to manifest. And, I think if you really think about it, this thought came in like 50 years ago to reality, or to our consciousness, that we create our own reality. right? It was a new thought to humanity, and it integrated into the collective consciousness. And I think that it's confusing, really, because it's like, well, you don't create the earth, you don't, the sun rises and sets every day. You don't create that. So what do you create? What do you have control over, and what don't you have control over? And that is a very complex question. And if it was simple, when The Secret came out, everyone would be instantaneously millionaires and have the life of their dreams. And, we would have, evolved out of the process, but it's very complex. And so one of the things we go through is that in human design, they say that there's only 8% of the population that are manifestors. Now, 8% is a pretty small part of the population. That leaves an entire 92% of the population that are not designed to go out and make something happen. They're not designed to manifest in the same way. Yes, we all are designed to manifest, but we have different strategies. And so this little clarification really assists people in taking, the downloads, the visions, the desire to create something more, and it helps people to understand their unique operating system and how to manifest something as themselves, so that you're not seeing like, oh, somebody created a 6-figure business, now I'm going to go and do it, and you try it on, you try and move forward with it, and then you just get disappointed because like that is not correct for you, right?
It's not the thing, right?
Yeah. And so, and that's, I'd say, the hardest thing for people when they're going out and starting is exactly, they're seeing how other people are doing it. And even if they're buying in and investing and trying it on, and it's not quite working for them, oftentimes the first piece we look at is what type of manifestor they are, and how to kind of utilize that as a piece and a tool to operate correctly in a world where it's confusing. There's a lot of information, there's a lot of how to, and there's a lot of different, there's a lot of different ways of learning how to live your dream. So this is just done in a way where we really honor the vision and honor what's bubbling up in people, while also knowing that embodying this sense of frequency, that when you are aligning to the frequency of what it is you want, things begin to, you draw things in through vibration, through frequency, right? And then what we're adding to that mix is this piece of the aura mechanics, which is that each aura manifests differently. If you're a projector like myself, then if you initiate action where you're uninvited, then you'll get a lot of pain and resistance. And the projectors are 20% of the population. They really need that support. They need to understand how they operate on this earth plane. And so that little hint of specification provides a little strategy in manifesting based on this unique auric type.
Right.
And
so, Oh, sorry. Go on. Yeah, go. Keep going. So we give
it in daily kind of, bite-sized pieces for people to like take on this new intel, try it on, not think they understand it, but experiment with it and see if it's correct for you.
Thank you. So you're actually saying, again, have those soul-guided action steps. So when you say projector, I'm not familiar with that. So do you say like projector, what else is there in that human design pattern? Or like, do you walk people through that throughout the day? Do you have a worksheet that goes with your? So
there's
what's on the worksheet?
Yeah, there's a worksheet. We teach you, the first day we teach you how to find out what your aura type is. And there are 4 types. There's the manifestor, generator, projector, or reflector.
I want to write these down. I'm going to have to write them down, guys. Write down.
Yeah, it's really like if you get the big vision and vision. Now, granted, we're actually doing it live starting September 30th. Okay,
Yeah.
so if you get this before September 30th, then you kind of have to wait till September 30th before we give the first steps. But after that, it will be evergreen. So if you're listening to this anytime after that, you can get it yourself. The first email will guide you through how to find out what your aura type is. And then once you find out what your aura type is, then we ask you to commit, obviously, for 7 days to feel. Obviously, it takes longer than 7 days. They say it's a 7-year commitment, but experiment. Like, they say that you don't really get it for 7 years, but, as that, like, whatever. That life does take time to integrate. But the idea is that you actually experiment with it. It's not a belief system. It's not like, hey, believe this. It's like, okay, if you learn your aura type and you experiment with it, what happens? How does it feel? Mm-hmm. So there's 4 different types, and there's a little strategy for each type.
I love it. I wrote down there really quick, like, frequency, because it's the Cheers to Financial Freedom frequency. So one of the things that I heard you say, which is like, it takes time. And we don't want to hear that, right? We're like, I want it super fast. Like, give me the shortcut, like, sprinkle the magic sauce, whatever, on it, the magic dust, like, give me like yesterday. And part of that impatience and not understanding that our soul path just unfolds perfectly in divine time, the way that it needs to for our highest good, and the way that we need to for our vision to manifest. Sometimes, that you set that vision. I know that you say there's a lot of things that you can envision, and we'll talk about those things as well. But when you have that vision for your life to contribute in the world, or for your health, or for the relationships, or what have you, and you have that, like, listen, I want it yesterday, that in and of itself is not necessarily the frequency that's going to bring it into your life the way that is for your highest good, right? You might get it for a while, and then you're going to bounce back out, because it's not for men. It's the human thinking, oh, well, like you said, well, she's got a 6-figure business, he's got what have you, I want that. And it's not necessarily. So share some of the things that people manifest and set the intention. I know it's anything, but just to give people an idea of, like, when they're thinking, our audience might be thinking, well, will this work for this? And will this work for that? I know that you're saying about being aligned with your business, and speaking on stage, or different things. Like, what can people come into your challenge and set the energy in motion for? Because listen, 7 days, we're not saying you're going to be on this, let's keep it real, but it's setting in motion, right?
Yeah. So I love what you're saying, because, what happens, I think, is that people, I think obviously what it is money. People, like, if they're changing careers, they're thinking, I need to make enough money to pay my bills. And that creates this sense of frustration, pain, and then pressure to go out and make things happen. And I think that, like, the whole unraveling of that, and at least this was for my path, the unraveling of that was like, there's enough now. There's enough now. Like, okay, maybe, like, it's not, I'm not going to, and really the truth for me is I had to downsize for a while. I had to, like, not live the lifestyle I was living when I was, and I took that on as, like, this is going to be friggin' fun. And I'm going to, like, right? And actually, for a projector, it's so good to do, to just kind of downsize. And projectors are not supposed to work full time. So basically, the idea is that whatever it is that you want, you actually can embody it now. There's a sense of freedom. There's a sense of abundance. There's a sense of peace that we can embody in our consciousness now. That can happen within the second. So whatever it is that you're desiring, right? There's an energy behind it. And that is something that we kind of know if you know law of attraction, but we have such trouble living it because the like you said, the desire pushes things away. The action actually pushes things away. Initiating will push things away for every type except a manifester. So it's really about, in the first day, you can take the energy and embody what it is that you're trying to bring in. And then your life begins to change. Your daily routines begin to change, because you're feeling once you really feel that, you move out of like the pain and the frustration, and you move out of the angst of feeling like you have to make something happen tomorrow. That immediately changes the entire game.
Yeah, I agree. And part of, as I write my book, The Intentional Living Codes, is setting those intentions and living an intentional life now. Not like, well, when I get this, then I'm gonna because we've all had those conversations in our head, and we've all kind of done that. And that's why we're speaking from experience. It's not like to judge or to say, hey, you're doing it all wrong. It's like, listen, there's certain things, there's certain formulas, there's certain steps in doing things in a certain way, and doing things in a certain way that's really the call of your soul. Forget like the humanness and the physical environment and the relationships, or somebody's like knocking at your door saying, hey, this and this. So I love that you share that. So guys, I would love to talk to you forever, but I want to respect your time and everybody else's time. I'm going to wrap up this episode. And I was saying to Deb before we got started is that I just feel my way. So I'm going to feel my way through the outro as you do. And then I'm going to come back to you guys and just share the last kind of takeaway or last strategy or last thing that you really want our audience to know and move forward with. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Awesome. So guys, this episode, like techie glitches and all, right? So thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for sharing this time and this space. I really honor my guests for just, inviting you into this space. Do share this out, because I feel like it's a conversation that's raw and that's real and that needs to be had. If you're behind closed doors like I was, right? I was alone. I was behind closed doors. I'm in the UK, so not to say that there are not people in the UK that think and feel the way that like me, but you might feel a little bit different. And so I didn't have those light-minded people around me. So I invite you to change your tribe and change your vibe. Now, people say, change your tribal vibe, whatever. Do the outside, do the physical action, come into the collective, continue on the conversation. And Raquel, please do share at the end, what is behind that 7-day, because I know that there's an additional offer, and I want to invite people into that as well. So do remind me. So after the show, you can connect and have a conversation. I am going to be taking notes on the replay. I invite you to join into that conversation. And one of the things that we have joined together as a collective for is to move away. I invite you to move away from the energy of list building, which sounds like, what do you mean? And move to the energy of building your soul legacy, what really matters to you. It's not about putting people on lists and saying, buy my stuff, this is my business now, because you can't put souls on lists, right? We're connecting soul to soul. We've connected soul to soul today. I've had a ton of fun. And so for me, the energy of that, I will be inviting you into the after show. I will be offering what I call my big money energy breakthrough sessions and 7-day success story follow-up calls, because I want to be in service. Me doing this journey was, I wanted to teach somebody to teach me how to be in service first. And I love being in service. So my guests are in service. The links are going to be down below for you. Get the free gifts. I have the Soul Legacy School Masterclass for you. Do come on that, jump into it. If you are somebody who had a fear of failure, success, and selling like I did, I definitely invite you to get on that class. So what I say is that the Soul Legacy TV podcast and radio show is here to pay tribute to those who those loved ones who are not here with us. And many of you will know, if you've watched my episodes, that I dedicate the Soul Legacy TV to my son. And so we've had loved ones and we've had losses, and the lower vibration is fear and grief. So I invite you to move up that emotional scale with me to love and freedom and appreciation and joy, and align your soul path and get what it is that you need. In this series, you'll see guests that are sharing raw and real and saying, hey, I want to shortcut your learning curve. Take them up. Don't do everything alone, right? I do invite you to do that. So if you haven't subscribed already, please do subscribe. Why not? Please do subscribe below. And remember, I say, turn your wounds into wisdom. We've all gone through so many learning curves, and we're laughing and we're joking, but they were painful. They were painful, and they leave those emotional scars that then you then have to then heal, right? So I say, don't be a wounded light worker. I dare you to be a legend. Hashtag legendary light leaders. I'm sending you so much love and light. Here's to living and leaving our soul legacy, and trust the soul downloads. Focus on being in service first. So Deb, would you like to add anything before we hop off?
Sure. What I just got in intuitively was along the lines of trusting, and it's trusting yourself. A lot of times part of why we don't take the action is we don't believe in ourselves, and we don't have maybe the clarity or the confidence or the confirmation. And in part of watching the divine intuition and manifest, or listening to it rather, you gain these insights on how to create these things for you in your way. And it leads you to intuitive strategy for business, which is what's led me to develop my business the last 7 years. And it takes courage, but it's the intuition and the spirit, the working and the manifestation, all of this makes it easier, makes it fun, and it helps your soul evolve through these emotions and through these patterns. And it's what you're meant to be here to do.
Yeah, thank you so much. It gets a whole lot easier when you figure out the business stuff, which in turn is your time, money, and your energy. You're able to spend it in different areas with your loved ones and create the environments that you want, create the relationships that you want, have the emotional intelligence and emotional capacity to handle things when life throws things your way. Doing this groundwork helps you to be able to contribute in the world, right, the way that you really want to. It's just so important, I believe. So Raquel, have you got anything that you'd like to add before we hop off?
I just want to say, one of the things that I've loved about this time with both of you amazing people is just the authenticity and just the ability to really share from the heart, be present, to connect. And when I first heard about your story and your journey, my heart just immediately cracked open for your transformation, what you've been through. And I do believe that life in general brings us so many gifts when we see them in that way, and when we allow our breakdowns to be breakthroughs, and when we just allow that intuitive voice to kind of come in, that's when we really allow for those opportunities for new for new levels of growth. And so I love the conversation. I love the authenticity. I love, women living their lives as themselves and listening to their intuition. It still is so rare. It still is so rare to live as your unique self, to let life, the pain of life create a breakthrough. And I just love my motto is really understanding your uniqueness and living in your unique expression, and that is freedom. That is pure freedom when we're not confined. And so bless both of you for your journeys and for everything you've shared. And it really has been I feel just so connected, feels so great. And I hope everyone listening does as well, just by having a real conversation, with each other. It's empowering and powerful.
It is very empowering and powerful. Thank you, Raquel. I wanted to touch on the next step after your 7 days, because I don't want people to slip through because it's on the 30th. Share a little bit about that, because I didn't give that space and I really wanted to.
Basically, what we're offering is for people who have money, karma, drama, fear, like really deep-seated stuff. We also have the inner game piece through audios and through, a deeper journey, which is basically a very small investment if people wanted to like get deeper audio. Now the 7 days is free, and we walk you through a lot of the intel, but if you want to go deeper after you do the 7 days, there's an opportunity to get these mindset piece, and we call it the mystical mindset power boost. And it's basically like, if you're like me, who came from, a financial trauma, where my dad lost his business when I was in high school, and it just seeded in me like financial trauma, like constantly highs as an entrepreneur and the crashes, and like I had a lot of drama karma, like big time. And so I had to do a lot of deep work. For some people, it's like emotional health and health crisis. For me, it was financial crisis and debt, and moving through debt and moving through the fear of all of that. And so I've really had to crack that open and learn how to like do deep inner work around fear, drama, money, karma. And so we do provide like deeper dives into that also.
I love it. I knew that I needed to give space for that. Do you see how that happens? Just that flow. So thank you so much. I love you both. You've made today just sitting and holding space for me with the techie glitches. I really, really do appreciate it. I know that happens. And guys, when you're stepping into your purpose in a bigger way, because these ladies are supporting you, do get the gifts, and then do trust the process and take the journey, take the steps anyway, whether they're perfect or not, because I am a recovering perfectionist. We are out. Oh, much love, guys. Thank you. I think